Play that. Play that.
Would you like to build a podcast? And if you have one built, wouldn't you like to get as much exposure for it as possible? Because HiddenHeartRadio.com is plugging local and national podcasters with the opportunity for more web and radio exposure. With our staff of cameramen and audio experts, we supply the technical tools needed for your podcast to reach a much wider audience. Now, you have a studio set location and access to professionals using professional equipment to film and record your show. And you get to go and upload it wherever you want. But I bet you're wondering how much all this top-notch access will cost you. Well, that's the special part, $60 an hour. That's right. You can access our studio, our staff members, and our equipment for $60 an hour to film and record your podcast. So let me ask you again. Would you like to build a podcast? Good. Call 414-366-7102. That's 414-366-7102 to make an appointment with Eleazar Maldonado to get you started.
Total Request Entertainment. Our mission is to cover your total requests. When you look to contract a DJ service, make sure they have all the moving parts that is required to do the job. Make sure they're able to meet or talk with you as many times as necessary to make you feel comfortable. Make sure they have backup equipment. Make sure that they have insurance that will cover your venue's requirements. Make sure that they can do a walkthrough of your venue to supply adequate equipment. Can your DJ supply ceremony microphones for the officiant, the bride, and the groom? Do they have battery-operated equipment to be out in the field where there is no power? Make sure that they can handle preceding ceremony music, processional and recessional. Announce the grand entrance and entire bridal party. Do you need an experience and not just some guy that's going to play a playlist? Make sure that you hire someone that can get the job done and take care of your every total request. We are Total Request Entertainment. For booking and contact information, call Eleazar Maldonado at 414-366-7102. 414-366-7102. Or visit the website at TotalRequestENT.com.
Yo, make sure you tune in 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on HiddenHeartRadio.com or the Post of the City page on Facebook, and catch out my main man, Sayer, on the morning shift, Uncut. Then done. The morning shift, MKE, Uncut. 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. right here on HiddenHeartRadio.com. Real topics, real news you can use, you dig? You can also catch us at the Post of the City page on Meta or Facebook or HiddenHeartRadio.com.
Pitch control.
The morning shift, MKE Uncut on HiddenHeartRadio.com.
What you doing still in bed, man? Yo, you need to punch in for that morning shift MKE with Sayer right here on HiddenHeartRadio.com exclusively from 10 to 2 p.m. Check it out, man. Listen out.
Good morning, grand risings, all those things you say to the folks you rock with in the AM, man. And y'all know the routine. Always after and never before. You take care of your personal hygiene, man. Get up, wash your face.
Make sure you tune in to the morning.
Get up, wash your face, brush your teeth. You know what I mean? Do everything, shave, all your other S's before you get up in somebody's face using S's. You understand what I'm saying? Man, as told, first off, let me tell you, I apologize to y'all. We're getting the video situation in order. So if you listen along over at HiddenHeartRadio.com, the video will be up shortly. Man, the guru is actually working on it as we speak. I'm watching my computer do its own thing because somebody has taken over. But nonetheless, y'all keep it locked and y'all be able to see us shortly. But in the meantime, in studio, I have none other than the self-proclaimed community renter himself, Mr. Vince Tony.
And what's that last part? Community what?
Ranter. I seen you put that in one of your posts because somebody called you a
Yeah,
ranter
somebody
at one
called
of
me
the
a
meetings.
ranter.
So
Yeah.
you took the title.
Yeah. I've been called a lot of things. So
Yeah.
I don't take it personal, but some
Right.
of it is fun. You know, when someone gives you a nice recognizable name, I'll take it.
Right. Hey,
Yeah.
that mean they noticing you, right?
Well, I
mean
guess they
what
noticing something.
right,
Yeah.
right. They
Well,
noticing everything but what you fussing about. Now, if we could just get them to notice that, because man, the pictures, you and Brother Ram, Rick Ali Muhammad, man, with the pictures, he'd go out and take pictures of the community too, showing the lack of neighborhood services. I've been seeing you real strong going out, taking pictures of all the trash and filth behind these Barada properties and some more things, man.
yeah. I think that's the latest thing. With the city having a press conference last week to talk about, the situation I think it was the Wisconsin Avenue where pipes bust and this, that, and the other. And, I decided to go down because we have, we're talking about Barada property. So whether it's a pipe bust or it's trash in the neighborhood, it's still Barada properties. And my people in Garden Homes have an issue with what's going on over there. So I wanted to go there to bring that to their attention. In addition to that, my alderwoman was there. So I think she probably should have been over in Garden Homes picking up some of this trash or getting somebody to pick up some of this trash to see what's going on. But that wasn't the case. So, there I was. And I just asked one question, when is the Common Council going to take accountability for what's going on in the city? You want to blame everybody else, but, you're in a position to make moves and make a difference, and I don't see that happening.
Right. I tell people that all the time. Like, I'm myself kind of new to paying attention to the politics and what's going on with the city. But one thing I always say, even with the few people who come up here for interviews that's elected officials, is my entire life, the overall condition in which I live in been the same. I don't care who been in office.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's always been the same. You get a few little different little tweaks here and there. You know what I mean?
Well, it was tweaked as far as the garbage is concerned. We had some problems down the line. I think in 2010, Eugene Kane wrote an article about me and some of the same issue back then. It wasn't a Barada property. It was someone else that owned the property at the time. But nevertheless, it's still the same problem. But we were getting,
Right.
we were getting through it. I think what happened in the area on the 4200 block of North 27th Street is that I call it gentrification. They moved our people out and moved the Hispanics in, and Hispanics come with larger families, and now the trash is all over the place. And I've in the military, I was visiting or went through the Philippines, the third world country at the time, and it looked like a third world country over my neighborhood. Beyond that. It should be unacceptable the way it looked. I'm talking a ton of garbage just piled up in different places. However, I do have to, I think it was mentioned that I have a relationship with Barada. I don't have a relationship with Barada. I have a relationship with the maintenance people because I've been calling them for the last 4 or 5 months and talking about, trying to get them out there to do things. And over the last month or so, they've been kind of working with me. As a matter of fact, this week, I got a decent connection there. And Jennifer's her name, and she says she's going to work with her. We got an email address. I had one before. They've been rocking and rolling, but not to the extent that I want it to happen. Because when I say something is clean, clean means there's no paper at all on the ground.
Right.
And that hasn't, so that's something that we have to work on. It has to be satisfactory for us. We don't, if garbage is coming from your area and it's blowing into my yard, that's a problem because I shouldn't have to pick up your trash. Make sure when your guys come over here, your maintenance crew come over here, that they pick everything up. That's it. So they just have to tweak it a little bit, but I have to give them credit. The office that I'm working with, I'm not working with Barada personally, but the people that I've been working with, they've been trying to an extent. So it just hasn't been to my satisfaction. And the garbage that I posted on Facebook was there when I went to that press conference. Yeah.
And that's one thing I've been trying to figure out with these particular properties that we mentioned or that we see the most of. Like you said, these problems existed under previous ownership also.
Right.
So it make me ask, what's going on or not going on.
That's not going on.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In this area, or and it's more than just that area because they got properties all over, or with these properties, shall we say, that they doing like this.
Yeah. I can't answer that question. I can only answer the questions of what happens in garden homes. I'm not in anybody else's neighborhood trying to figure out what's going on over there. If I drive by, I did start a program in 2018. That's a totally different topic. But I focus on garden homes and what's going on in there, whether it's from a cleaning perspective, from somebody's not cutting their grass or trash in their yard, this, that, and the other, or the hot spot or stores that are doing liquor license. And, we focus in that area because that's the only thing that we can control is our quality of life. So if other people in different, I call them villages in Milwaukee, see a difference being made over where we are, then maybe they can tag team on or ask some questions and we can work together to let them know what we've been doing to try to keep things safer and cleaner. Because in reference to our kids being able to come outside and play, and our elders to be able to come outside and walk the streets unencumbered and not feeling like their life is being threatened. So, and we've transitioned to that. I mean, this summer we're seeing a lot more kids. I see my neighbor across the street, her kids coming across the street playing with someone else's kids. So we're trying to get back into that camaraderie where our neighbors know each other and everybody feels comfortable about coming outside. And then we get to the point where we feel even more comfortable where the men can start coming out and start making sure that everything is taken care of.
We have a commenter on the website. This actually came from DJ Eljazar. He said, it's the renters that make the mess. I did city cleanups. So he's saying from his experience, man, going out in the community when he was doing the city's cleanup, it's the renters.
Okay.
You can tell when a person owns the home, they take pride in keeping the area clean versus as the renters come in and they just.
Well, I think at it from this perspective. If that's my property, right, that I pay taxes on that property, it's my responsibility to make sure that it's clean. It's not, they live there. If they're nasty and they won't change, then they get evicted.
Right.
If not, that's my responsibility. We have to take ownership of our own. That's my house. I paid for it. You're paying me rent. Here's the rules when you come in. You cut the grass, you shovel the snow, you put the garbage in there, and if you come outside and pick up the paper. If they don't, that's my responsibility. That's my property. When the city comes in and say we're going to fine you, you're not going to fine them.
Right.
It's going to come out of my pocket. And if it comes out of my pocket, that cost's going to go to you.
And that is true because I had to call the city over by where the bar at where I work at. Yeah. It's a residential area on one side of the track. Then it's like, I guess you would call that industrial or commercial because it's just the factories or whatever, or build big warehouses. And then you cross the street and it's back in the residence. We right between Villard and it's that Free Branch or something. Okay. So anyway, people come and they do their illegal dumping on the block. So we got a sticker put on the building. Telling us we was getting fined, but the property where this garbage was at wasn't even ours. It's just that it's so hard to see what belongs to who that they just write anybody whatever and stick it on your door. Yeah. So I had to call down there. They pull up the map and see they made a mistake, and I'm like, if y'all could have did that, why y'all didn't do that from the beginning?
Well, we live in a lazy society.
And then they told me that it's the responsibility of whichever property the garbage on, no matter who illegally dumped it, it's still
your responsibility.
That owner's responsibility to clean it.
Yeah, and that brings up a point. I mean, you think in all the landlords in the city of Milwaukee, whether it's a duplex, single family, whatever, that's your property.
Yeah,
that's your source of income from that property. Why would you allow someone to come in there and destroy it? And now if they leave, then you got to come in there and spend money to get it fixed. I don't get that concept, and it happens all too often. I mean, I think with Barada, he's constantly evicting people, and that costs money.
Yeah, we call him one and done. You get a month or two in with him, and then he puts you out.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. If it's my house, I have a duplex, and in the past, I've rented it out. I've had to evict somebody. Yeah, you don't have time for that. You don't have money for that. Bills come up, and you got to pay your bills. And if somebody's not paying your rent or they're tearing up your property, Are you going to allow them to do it? No, you go downtown, you get them evicted.
Right.
You know, that's the process.
Right.
You know, you can't blame them because what your caller said, well, people are throwing trash out there. Well, what are they doing to the inside of those apartments too? You know, we just can't we have to look at it holistically. I wouldn't take up for broader nobody that doesn't take care of their business. That's your property. It's up to you to go there and inspect it.
You got to do your inspections.
And you don't think I'm upstairs knocking on my, neighbor, hey, what's going on? I'm peeking in the door.
Yeah.
You know, if I smell marijuana, no, you don't do that up here. You don't smoke cigarettes. You don't do any of that. It's on the lease. And if it happens, you sign the lease, that's legally, we're going to have to go downtown and we're going to have to take care of business. Right. You got to get up out of here. Right. Period.
Right. Now, recently you was just at I don't even know what they call these things no more.
Press conference?
That's what it's supposed to be.
It's just a photo op for a bunch of older people to talk.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing nothing.
That's why I don't go, because it seemed like all they do at these joints is set dates for the next one.
I think, I was accused of coming there and showing up at different places making noise. Well, if it affects my quality of life, I have a right to speak up.
Yeah.
And at that particular event, my older person was standing there. She's standing there. This is a problem on Wisconsin Avenue, but you're saying this holistically with slumlords. Well, why don't we have a press conference in Garden Homes and look with this trash out here and tell us what you're going to do about that?
Right. Now, why was the alderman for your district way over there? That your district don't stretch that long, do it?
Well, I would think, something like that. I don't know if that's Charlene Moore's district either. I think it's Bauman's district. But my point is that if somebody wants to be the point person, where's the Common Council president? These other individuals should be at their districts and taking care of business in their district. If I'm alderman of first district, if it's something that where the president say we all have to come together, cool. If we don't all have to come together, I'm not in your district doing nothing. I got enough work to do in my district to be down there messing around in your district.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to go. What they call that, take care of your own yard first.
Well, you would think so. So, we've had a plethora of problems in our community and in the Garden Home. So, it needs to be taken care of.
So talk to us. What's not going on in Garden Homes since the last time we spoke?
Well, a lot. Let's see, where do we want to start? Well, let's start with something recent. My neighbor, who's a Block Watch member, and I posted it on Facebook. Her sister, she can walk out of the back of her house and walk to the back of her yard and see her sister's house. And, they checked on each other's day. And someone called me and said, well, her sister had passed away. So I went by and they were saying that her sister had died, possibly fallen and hit her head and died. Well, come to find out, long story short, she said she was standing by the window and she could hear the birds. And she looked up at the window and there was a hole in the window, and the police officers dismissed it and they took the body out of the house as a fall victim. They had an autopsy done, and the next morning they find out that there's a bullet in her sister's head.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. And there was no investigation. We don't know what they're doing now. This happened in September, and she's been calling the officers has left their number at her house. She's called Chief Norman. She's called a few of the news stations to see if they would cover their story. Finally, a couple of weeks ago, they covered her story.
I was just gonna say I haven't.
Well, just a couple of weeks ago, they covered her story. It wasn't on the news because that's something they would not put on the news like that because it's under investigation because of the mistake that was made. The fact that they took a body out of the house and didn't do a thorough enough investigation to see that there was a bullet in one of my neighbor's head, and a Block Watch member and friend. So that was one of the things that happened that's pretty tragic. And there hasn't been a lot, but we've been having some mental health issues in the neighbor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So in the neighborhood, and I don't know why, we've called 211 or whatever to see who can come out there to take care of it. People, you can see they're obviously sometimes on drugs or something to that effect. But we had a young man that obviously had some mental health issues. He's been going up and down the block, and I was walking across the street to my neighbor's house, and I just got close enough to my neighbor, and we turned around, and this young man is coming from behind the car. He's got his hand behind his back like he's got a gun in his hand, right? If he had a gun, he would have taken both of us out because we wouldn't have a chance to do anything, right? He stood up, he stood down, he went away. I followed him. He went on 27th and Atkinson. I have the video.
Oh,
And,
wow.
standing around there, called the police and let them know what happened. And a couple of weeks later, I'll say this, before it was on a Saturday, we talked about it at our block watch meeting with the community liaison officers there, and I mentioned to them, I said, if there's any bloodshed in this community, it's going to be on the hands of the alder people and the police department because they're not doing enough. On that Saturday afternoon, my nephew was at New Hope Baptist Church, and that same young man was sitting next to him. And come Sunday, this man killed 3 people in Garden Homes. Shot him and killed him to death.
I remember that.
Yep.
I actually know some of those folks.
Yeah. And it's very tragic. And we haven't had, well, I think probably in September or a month before that, there was a shooting in the park over there. So, it's been a constant over there. It doesn't seem to be anybody that comes in the office or get enough police presence over there to deter any of some of that activity. Now, we've had some changes over there, some drastic changes in 2023. It has nothing to do with us, even though we've been down to the Common Council numerous times on the hotspot and their liquor license. Evidently, in 2023, their license was taken away. The store had been raided, and we don't know exactly why it was raided, but word on the street is that they were allowing people to come in there with Quest cards and buy anything. So that's word on the street.
Right.
I've gone down to on 3rd Street records requests. I did a records request, but I can't get any information about exactly what happened. However, the fact of the matter is, there in 2023, when that happened, they didn't have a liquor license. So I did, in 2024, they still don't have a liquor license now. But what I did is went down to the records and I requested police reports in the area. And here's what I found out. And here's the difference maker when we talk about our community and we talk about liquor stores and things of that nature.
Okay.
In 2023, if you can see this, can they see this on the screen?
If you get it closer to the
Closer
camera.
to the screen?
Other
Okay.
camera.
Where is it at?
In front of you.
Oh, here?
Yeah,
Right here?
Yeah.
Is that good? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you look at this is the police reports are the calls on the hotspot in 2023.
That's a thick packet.
Right. 2024, and so in 2023 is when they took the raid. In 2024, here's the calls. You see it? You see the difference?
Yeah.
In up to February of 2025, look at that.
Okay.
Look at that. That's how many calls is at that store. It went from, what is that, 1.5 inch thick calls?
Yeah.
So how much police presence or time has been spent in that area versus with that liquor license not being there? It's 2 sheets of paper.
Right.
Right.
Now that's some stats for y'all ass.
Well, it's,
you know what I mean? Like, that's right, point blank. Like, we hear them say this go up, this go down all the time. But to actually sit here physically with these complaints in your hand, we ain't looking at a graph on a piece of paper. Like,
well, it should be some data somewhere that tells this and shows this.
But to see the physical complaints is seeing a picture on the wall.
These are police responses.
Yeah.
From this to this.
Yeah.
And that's because there's the crowd that's drawn by the liquor or whatever else is going on in the store is no longer present. So, people get on my case about being down at the Common Council. I've been down there since 2015. I've been down there 10, 15 times, liquor license when it comes up for renewal. And we weren't able to do anything about it. We've had 3 alderpersons there, Marvin Pratt, we've had Ashante Hamilton, and we've got Andrea Pratt, and we haven't been able to do anything down there. But now, once this raid took place, then this is what happened. So we're very pleased with that. And you see, this is the number of police calls that we're no longer getting, right? And so this frees up, right, the police department to do other things and go other places to take care of business.
Right.
So imagine that. And so that's one of the changes that's in the area, is that the traffic over there is minimal. There's not as many police responses, so we feel good about that. And we've had people on 27th and 4300 block and areas over there we work with that are out there every day picking up paper. So our neighborhood doesn't look like a third world country. So when I'm down there at the press conference, we're addressing issues of quality of life issues. So we're trying to change the quality of life for everything in that area.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Definitely. Definitely. As you said numerous of times, I mean, you on assignment for your elders. You know what I mean?
Well, we have a block watch, Coalition for Hope Block Watch, and all of our members are elders. And I'm telling you, it'll probably, my intention was to dissolve it last month, but I'll probably dissolve it this month. I've gone out in the community several times and passed out flyers in the community saying, come to the block watch meeting. There's hasn't been any increase in people coming to the meetings.
Why
So,
do you think that is?
because people have given up in garden homes because we've been living there for a long time. Our elders have been down to some of these common council hearings and nothing gets done. So everybody's frustrated. Why are we going to come out here and do something when nothing gets done? But we do have a few elders left. Some of them have passed away, but they hold my feet to the fire. And do I want to be out there doing some of this stuff? Heck no. I don't want to be out there. I'd rather be on the golf course or doing something else. However, these are my elders, and they're looking for a quality of life and whatever little well, that the elders and the kids to be able to have walk down the street safely. And here's what I mean is, the drugs, and I've gone out in the neighborhood and I pick a paper every morning, but there's accumulation some mornings are with, you can see a dope bag where you can see they pull the plastic apart and you see they took something out of the bag, accumulated those things just to see what's going on in the neighborhood. We've got kids in the neighborhood. Imagine one of those kids picking that up if there's some fentanyl in there, what's going to happen? So we have a lot of work to do in our communities, and I think it's going to take men. I work with some men in the community, in the neighborhood. They don't necessarily come to the block watch meetings, but they take care of their blocks in terms of being there, picking up paper. It's a clean area, so we're satisfied with that. But we don't have enough people coming to the meetings that really care, and the reason they don't care is because they can't see anything coming out of City Hall that makes a difference, and nothing very much has changed, especially in some of those areas. So I live in my area, and we take care of, there's only so much we can cover, the blocks that the people live on that come to the meeting. We work with them directly.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. We've had a neighbor walk in come in and move next door to me, as a matter of fact. And at our police meeting, they said, there's a potential that these people moving next door to you has been doing some sex trafficking.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And long story short, one day something went down over there, and shots were fired. Shot went across the street in my neighbor's house and landed in the iron while her daughter was ironing. Right. So that's and the police knew what's over there, but it's there, and we never saw anything happen to try to dissuade these people from being there until, I guess, it was a slumlord that worked over there. But when they moved out of there, went down there, and rats were all over the neighborhood after they moved out of there. And you can go over to the house, and I went over there, and it looked like it was a dungeon in the basement. So don't know what's going on because I'm not privy to that information, but there was something going on, So in our neighborhood, we kind of watch, and we had a couple move in on the corner house some years ago, and they claimed to be pastors, and said, "Wow, that's pretty cool." They're good neighbors. It turned out, they had a relationship with some people that were selling drugs. So we had a very good police liaisons at the time, and the police department actually did a roll call in front of their house. They moved. However, when they moved, they damaged my property because they knew what was going on. So when you say why people don't come to the meetings, because they're afraid of some retaliation. They've seen me retaliated against. I mean, why am I going to come out? And that happens a lot, and we hear it at our block watch meetings. I've gone to some of the community safety meetings, and I hear the same thing, is that we're afraid of retaliation. So people aren't going to say anything because they don't want their house shot up. or they don't want something to happen to their relative. So that's the reason why. So until the city of Milwaukee can make people feel safe and comfortable where they can speak out and know that they're going to be protected, they're going to be behind closed doors. Nobody's going to come outside to take care of business. I mean, if you walk through our neighborhoods, who do you see outside? You know, you see groups of men standing all around different places, and our women and our children are not going to be. I mean, I wouldn't let my child go in some of those areas.
Right,
Pardon me?
getting a call.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yo.
All right, you put your headphones on, you'll be able to hear. We got VAUN MAYES on the line.
Okay, cool.
1 second.
A great connection.
Just we in studio. What's the word, Vaughn? We in studio with Vince Tony. He was just talking about his neighborhood and the quality of living over there. Can you hear? Hold on 1 second. Let me give you some volume. You got something now?
I can hear it now. Yep.
Okay, here we go. Vaughn, you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, y'all. HittingHardRadio.com, the morning shift MKE. We are in studio with the brother Vince Tony, and we now have brother VAUN MAYES, Calm Force, on the line. How you doing, my man?
What's the word?
We were just discussing some of the Barada issues, and Vince was giving us our take on the press conference. So what you use? I noticed you was at the press conference as well. I sent you up there. What's your take on the press conference and what was going on with the Barada property issues?
Man, you know, as I said on the post, and you know, as part of the conversation, I think a lot of people are just uninformed and don't know who to go to for certain issues. But the thing is, Wisconsin is a free-for-all state when it comes to property owners, and that's why we have people, these corporations that's able to buy up all these different homes. You got people who don't live in the state, who don't care for their properties. They buying up all these properties and renting them to people. And they're able to do these things because the state has it so free here. That's also why since COVID, they shifted. They have not done any upgrades, any fixing, any, you know, additions to these properties, but they've raised the rent $100, $200, $300, $400, $500, $600, $700 on people. They're telling people they got to make 2-3 times the rent. They're telling people they have to have a certain credit score. They're able to do these things in a city that's highly privatized because there is no restraints on them doing stuff like this. And so now that we see these issues that we've been seeing, but now we see them even more, people have to understand what needs to be done to change that. The city can't change that. The state has to change that. And if the state is not willing to make changes or put restrictions on these folks and more protections in place for the renters, then we just gonna be complaining to be complaining. And so when I saw Charlotte was doing, she didn't ask me to come. I was not involved in the conversation about what they were doing. I took it upon myself to go there and be there when I saw what they were doing, because this isn't typical for our leadership at City Hall to try and do something on these issues without being there being a campaign or a protest or pressure being put on them on a large scale. Charlotte and others have taken it upon themselves to try and do something, and so I went to support that because that's not typical. So if we say we want our electeds to do something and then they try to do something and then we still go complain, that, to me, that's not putting us in any better position. What we need to be doing is a campaign at the state level to change the law.
Now, this like we spoke about that a little bit in the post that you was commenting on. What does that look like? How do this process? Is there anybody working on the road to state to take this issue with Barada?
To be honest, no, I don't think so. I know for years myself and Tori have dealt with these landlord issues. I know there have been campaigns to like sue Barada, you know, lawsuits and stuff like that. And, you know, even as far as Conforce, we've taken it upon ourselves to like call the alderman, call us the help people, call the State Department or the health department to help come shut some of these living spaces down and get things, you know, looked at. Or working with community advocates to help people withhold rent legally. So different things like that. But on a statewide campaign, this is the first time where, I know I've been advocating for that because we at a point where that's what we need to do. But I have not seen any state campaigns prior to now for folks to change the laws. And to be honest, we do have elected officials who are themselves property owners and who may also themselves be slumlords. So it's not in their interest to want to do it on their own. That's part of the problem. So Charlotte and some of them have said they will support a state campaign. I've seen Racine say that Barada is there having these issues. I've seen other places outside of Milwaukee say they're having these issues with Barada. And so this is an opportunity to connect, not just because you already know they treat us in Milwaukee like we the bald head stepchild of the state. They don't want anything we complain about. It's like all them black people, they always complain. But now you got these other non-black places who having these issues. And this is an opportunity to connect our situation with theirs and go to the state and say, well, it ain't just Milwaukee. You know what I'm saying?
You want to say? You want to add anything?
Yeah. I think the reason that I showed up is because it was about slumlords, and the conversation that I heard were them talking about fining them and going to the state to see if they can increase the fines to 10, 15, 20, 30,000. Yeah. So the reason I was there, and I thought the press conference was basically because there were some frozen pipes and we got a slumlord. So I show up at the meeting and ask a question, when are the alderperson going to take responsibility for what's going on in our house? I mean, in our communities, in their districts. And my alderperson, Alderwoman Pratt, was there. We have some serious litter issues in our area right now. And we can't get a press conference. We've had people get shot and killed. We can't get a press conference. And the one thing that Mr. Vaughn said was that he and others have made some observations about me. I just want to know who are these people and what are the observations that were made about me. One of the observations is I show up at meetings and I speak out. Well, I work for a block watch, and they asked me to go to these meetings to speak on their behalf. So that's why I'm there. I'm not there if I didn't have to be there. Trust me, I wouldn't be there. That's not someplace that I want to be. I can find other things to do with my time than to be there arguing and debating with people about things that they should be doing in our community.
Right. You able to hear that, Vaughn?
Yeah, I was able to hear that. And to be honest, that's what I was saying to him. I think his time would be better spent doing some more fruitful things. And that's what I'm saying. If you come to meetings just to speak out about certain issues, that's not. See, when I first started, that's what I would do. I would crash meetings. I would come in there and cuss everybody out and talk about how they need to be replaced. But that's because I didn't know what else to do. When I figured out what else to do, and I gained that leverage and I gained that position and that ability to be able to affect things outside of just the rah-rah and complaining, then I became more efficient and effective. And that's why people come to me with these issues, right? And so that is a process that people have to go through to figure out what else can I do besides just bring attention, because we all know these are issues. We all know what the issues are. And I don't know about him. I don't know why he's unable to do that, but I mean, Sayer, I can call a press conference if I want to.
Well, I've attempted to call a press conference.
I have no problem. I have no problem doing that. And I know, and that's what I'm saying. It takes a certain type of work for building relationships or, going about things to be able to gain those type of abilities, And so that's what I was saying, because, I don't like seeing people, and to be honest, if you don't know, in the room, if you're in a room and you can't tell half the room is mad at you, that's not on me. You should be able to pick up on those things. And you can tell when you come to those meetings, most of the people in the room are not happy to see you there. And it ain't just because you're speaking out.
I can't tell that.
You know what I'm saying?
I can't tell that.
I can't help you with that, brother. If you don't have that type of discernment, then I know when I come in the room and the energy change. I can very well pick up on that.
Yeah.
So
if I can say something, the energy that changes when I come in the room is the mayor, the common council people. Yeah, their energy changes because they know they're wrong and that they should be doing something different. And I will continue to stand on what I stand on in terms of the alder people. And then the looks of this city, I think every alder person is in office right now should need to go find a different job. They don't know what they're doing. And I'm going to stand on that, whether or not they leave or not. I'm going to stand on that. And my people, my constituents in my neighborhood in Garden Homes do not have any faith in these people that run these offices. So am I wrong for being there, speaking on their behalf? I mean,
I don't think so at all.
Okay.
Have you considered running for the alder? Have you considered running for alder in that area?
Yes, I have. And I have run, but
So-
let me give you some numbers here. There's 39,000 people in Garden Homes area. Probably less than 3,000 or 4,000 people vote. So, and these are people that, I don't have that type of relationship with the church. So they play these games. There's not very many people that's going to take over because the media and everybody else in this city, the churches, know who they want to be in these positions, and that's who they sell. I've been to these churches when they present these alder persons, the mayor, the governor, and all these people in front of these churches. And the pastor is basically saying, hey, here's who I want you to vote for. So, yeah, I've ran several times, but I'm happy that I didn't win because I realized that being an alder person requires an extreme amount of work. And I don't know if I'm willing to work that hard. It's a lot of work, and there's a lot of people that are complaining. I'd rather sit on the sideline and say, hey, what can we do and work together to get things done? So if somebody's in the room that disagrees with something that's going on in Garden Homes, I just showed you right here. If you're saying we're not being effective, we got a store where we had probably hundreds of phone calls to the police officer in 2023. 2024 was half of that. In 2025, for some months, it's only 2 sheets of paper. So we've done some things that are, and it's just a shame that we have to continue to focus. It's been 10 years that we've been going down to the Common Council and asking them not to put a liquor license at a store. They continue to renew the license. Now that the store has been raided, they don't have a liquor license. The alderwoman had no choice but at the last hearing to say, no, we can't approve their license because we've seen the change in the police calls and the crime in the area. So we are being effective, but it's in our area. We're not out here in the streets trying to tell everybody what we're doing. And I'm not, because I don't have that kind of time. We take care of business in our neighborhood, and that's what we're going to focus and concentrate on. I think at some point in time, we as a people, when I grew up in Milwaukee, we didn't need the Common Council. We didn't see the police in our community because the men took care of business. So where are the men at in the city? That's the question that needs to be answered. Where are we? We shouldn't have to depend on these organizations or the police department. We can police our own neighborhoods, and that's what we do in Garden Homes. In the little area that I'm in, we police that area to the nth degree. We got cameras on our homes. Somebody broke in my neighbor's car several times. I've got cameras. It picked it up. Police is at my house. They can see the video. So we're doing things in a smaller arena. You're doing things more vastly. And if you remember, I think it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer than that, I reached out to you. There was a vacuum store in Villard, and the person in there, which was Russian, was very disrespectful to our people. And I reached out to yourself and Rick Mohammed to say, hey, what can we do? Because we don't need to be supporting this place because this person doesn't respect our community. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Specifically, no.
Okay, well, I've got the text messages where we went back and forth. So I will reach out to the community. Anybody wants to come in Garden Homes to help, and if anybody wants me to do anything in their community, I'm 10 toes down to help anybody out wherever I can. So these alliances and whomever these, I would like to know who these individuals are that's saying things about me behind my back, because these are the people that we need to sit down at the table with, trying to break bread together, see how we're going to change this thing.
I think, I don't know if, correct me if I'm wrong, Vaughn, I think what he was saying was the observation of what he's seeing, how they behave when you come in the room, not so much as them actually telling him something about you. He just reading
Exactly.
He just reading the energy, and he noticed when you come to the events that he at, that the people get standoffish with you or whatever it is that they
I
get.
think I've only been at maybe 1 or 2 events with Mr. Mays. So
Yeah.
I've been down to the school. I've been down to the school board, fighting, and the people have asked me to come down there to help them out there. I've been down there. I've been at the Alder People's, the Common Council, and we used to have the area in the Common Council full. Half of the people were opposed of the license and half the people were for the license. Now we have very few people in the room. So if there's only 2 or 3 people in there, and these are the people that are in opposition, because I mean, in for the liquor license, yeah, they're gonna look at me funny. Yeah, there's been some things that have gone on in Garden Homes that are racial and otherwise that a lot of people don't know, but I know because I've been boots on the ground. This is Garden Homes.
Overall, I think though different methods, different approaches, y'all both for the overall doing the same goal. Y'all after the same mission. You know what I mean? You with your garden homes, like you told in the post, you focus on the area. You know what I mean? You representing the area you live in. VAUN, you represent a bit of a larger scale due to all the people that reach out to you and things like that. And some of the people you deal with give you a different relationship and access to some other resources. Is it somewhere possible where you two can meet and come up with some solutions and ways of assistance to help in the garden homes area?
You know, I'm
I
open
mean, I'm not opposed to that. And my thing is, you know, we've been over in Garden Hall. That's where I don't know if you remember, but Sean Moore and Khalil Coleman started safe zones over there.
Okay.
And so I've been you know, involved back in those times and back and forth dealing with the hotspot. And I stepped back from the area because of everything that was going on with the hotspot, because you had certain leaders who were trying to get it shut down, trying to get the licenses taken. But then you had other people who people follow and listen to who were coming in support. And so it got messy, all this stuff about money and you know, people being paid off. I stepped back from that because, you know, I don't have the luxury of focusing on one area. You know what I'm saying? I have, my complaints come from not only all over the city, but the county, the state, and outside of the state. So I deal with stuff up to a national scale. It's even, you know, with the disaster relief. So I applaud the things that he's doing that are working and that are affecting change. And I don't personally have any issue or dislike for him. It's just like you said, my observation, and you know, my interpretation of that. But I do know there are other folks in Garden Homes. You got United Garden Homes over there, and people are territorial about their area and their space. That's another thing that I'm very, you know, there's etiquette when in activism or advocacy in certain spaces. So I am not opposed to supporting or helping. I go all over the city, but I usually try to support the people who are already there doing things. And if, you know, if I can help them with my platform or my relationships and what they need, then I'm not opposed to that. It's just, you know,
let me
and I have been in multiple rooms and multiple meetings with you, brother. It's been almost a dozen times. I don't know if you notice me every time that I'm in a room, because most of the time when I'm in rooms, I'm not the person that's trying to talk. I'm usually playing the background because I'm not the type of person that comes there to be seen or just to be heard. Sometimes I'm there to observe and to gather information and to see who's doing what and to, you know, take my game plan back to my people and we figure out how to move from there. So I definitely have been in multiple spaces with you.
Yeah, let me say this. Yeah, there's a lot of people in Garden Homes that don't like me. Yeah, because there's the Garden Homes Association. When I took over the Block Watch, my elders, you know, there was Garden Homes Association. There was a Caucasian guy, Joe Bova, who was the association president. My elders say Vince, you know, we were giving them $50 a year. I think he was setting up where he has different block watches. Am I off on?
Keep going.
Yeah, he had different block watches, giving this organization, association, $50 a year. I said, Vince, go ask Mr. Vogel why we have to give him this money. Well, I went there. Long story short, I went there twice, and Mr. Vogel wouldn't come to our meeting. Went back and we voted to not give them that money anymore. We had 2 brothers that, because we wouldn't give a Caucasian $50 a year, stop coming to the Block Watch meeting. That Caucasian man has been a thorn in our side. Now, let's talk about the 30th Street corridor and Chris Boston coming in our neighborhood. Now, those houses over there, the Garden Homes houses that they were retrofitting to make into better homes, I went in those homes and the basements were leaking, the floors were unlevel, but they were supposed to bring those things back up to code. Past summer, I was at a meeting with Chris Boston and Cheryl Blue. The police captain from 5th District, Jax, he was there, and somebody from the sheriff's office was there, and Garden Homes Association. They were talking about the issues over there, or trying to do some more things over there at those historical houses. And I was bringing to their attention that, you know, I when I went over there when they opened those houses up, when I went to the basement of one of those houses, when they opened them up, it was like I wouldn't let my dog live in that basement. And then I went to the other house, and they wouldn't even let any people in the basement, so they had them locked up. At this particular meeting last summer, Cheryl Blue, Shawnette Hicks, and Chris Boston, when I was talking and asking them, you know, what's going on and this, that, and the other, they had Captain Jax come up to me. They whispered in his ear. He came up to me and said they wanted me to leave the meeting. I represent the Garden Homes, the Coalition for Hope Block Watch. They wouldn't let me in the meeting. We've had our DRS has moved out of the community. They took 400, probably 500 or 600 livable wage paying jobs with them, and we no longer had a place to have our block watch meetings. We go over to the building on 27th and Hope, and they said, you know, can we get a space in there? They said, well, you have to get a sponsor. Well, we went to Garden Homes Association, United Garden Homes, and we went to the Northwest Side CDC and say, can we get a sponsorship up there? And we said, no, nobody wanted to sponsor us to get a room in the building. So I went to Tom Ryan, who owns the building. He's purchased the building, the DRS building that used to house 400 or 500 people that pay livable wage paying jobs, and said, hey, can we have a space up here? And that space is where Eden Corporation used to be, and we used to have our meetings there. So yeah, you can have a space here, but it's going to be $50 an hour. It's like, well, we don't have that kind of money in our kitty. And we've had in the future, Eden Corporation moved to Menominee Falls. We've had DRS move to Menominee Falls. When Eden moved, we moved our meetings to DRS, and they were free. So we've got a person that comes in our community, a slumlord, whatever you want to call him. Tom Ryan is his name, that purchases 2 buildings, and he doesn't want to work with the people that live in the neighborhood. We used to have our meetings for free in those buildings. So now we had to find a different location. So I can understand why people dislike me in the city, because in our area, because of some of the things that they've done, I say it's underhanded, and people are getting money and spending money, and nothing's changed. I mean, they've tried to make that area clear over there, and they haven't. It's to the point where they even had a press conference. They gave one of the houses to the police officers. That the day that they announced that on a police officer, that they gave one of those houses over in Garden Homes by the park to the police officers, I went over there the next morning. A paddy wagon was sitting over there, and I knocked on the door. I said, hey, why aren't you guys in the building? I said, they just gave you guys a building. The police officer said, I wish somebody would tell us. So we got 2 police officers sitting in the car. They just announced this week that they got a building over there, and the police officers don't even know that they got a building over there. All right? So there's a lot going on in Garden Homes that I know about, and some of the people that may be in your ear, Vaughn, are telling you some things that are short story, but it's a little bit longer story.
Keep saying that.
Yeah. So we can sit down and talk about it. I know Sean Moore. I know everybody over there, and I know some things over there that you would definitely like to know about, and it would probably change your opinion about all the people and everybody else, some of the people that you deal with.
Well, I mean, like I said, Garden Homes is a microcosm of the same issues across the city. Sherman Park, as upscale as it is held, has these same exact issues. And that's a specific area I put a lot of time and energy into, as well as over by Moody Park. Those are predominantly my 2 areas of focus, have been historically, which have these same issues where certain organizations or certain people get a bulk of the support and the dollars, and then they do nothing for the general area, to the point where I have had to come in and shift some things around and force some action, through not being like myself. So I understand that portion of it. And again, this is not a conversation I'm having from somebody told me to come tell you this, or complaining directly to me. Like I said, I'm just a person that observes very, and I'm very attentive when I'm in spaces. So I feel
You're
I had
working
the
on a
same
macro level.
issues with you said what?
I said you're working on a macro level. I'm working on a micro level of just garden homes. I don't, I can't affect every area. I can only affect where I live at, and the quality of life where I live at. That's what I take care of. I don't know what's going on in Sherman Park, but if somebody calls me and say, Vince, can you come over here? Well, tell me your issues so I can know what we're fighting against, and I will come and help a brother out. But my focus over the 25 plus years that I've been in garden homes, my entire focus has been on garden homes, not any place else. Now, there's some other issues that affect garden homes. Let's say, for example, the school board that affects our kids. So I have to be responsible for that. Let's say the violence prevention. That affects us because I've worked with those gentlemen and when they came in our neighborhood. So those are some areas that are personal to me that I go outside of garden homes, but specifically um, they've been in garden homes. As a matter of fact, when violence prevention first came out there, the garden homes area was one of their targeted areas. So I work with
Hmm.
the all of the individuals that I met with them at the buildings and went over some of the things that they've done in the community, some of the things that they recognize. For instance, they noticed some drug transactions in the store, and I'm calling them, say, hey, well, we got a licensing hearing come up. If you guys can come down there at the licensing hearing and say some of these things, we can get the liquor license taken away, which will make our neighborhood safer. So I'm not gonna go outside my scope of duties and be in a lot of different areas. I can't spread myself that thin. I'm the lead for the Coalition
Which
for Hope.
I don't think you should. I think if more people did what you did and focused on their area, I think the city would be better for it because it's not everybody's capacity to deal with a macro. Even at my capacity, there are still even larger issues that I can't focus on, such as MPS. MPS is a beast upon itself. You have to have the time and energy to deal with MPS, specifically to deal with all the things wrong with MPS, right?
Yeah,
So
you great point.
I get it.
I appreciate the compliment too. And I do work, I've had people come to me and that's why I'm at the school board because people have come to me and say, "Hey, this is what we represent. I am a product of MPS and I've been what's going on there is appalling to me. I volunteered at North Division, I volunteered at Keefe Avenue Street School, and I volunteered at Golda Meir. Two of those schools kicked me out. My alma mater, North Division, said that you can't come here because of some reasons. These are some things that we can sit down and talk about. And I think that we got some common ground and to open up some eyes in this city because I've worked for Running Rebels and I've seen some things there that people wouldn't believe. I've done a lot of different things in this city uh, that people don't know about because I'm undercover. I don't really out there, but you see me when I'm passionate. That's an issue most of the time that's affecting garden homes or the school board. I've been kicked out of the common council. I've been kicked out of the school board. I'm going to voice my opinion when we got 91% of the students at North MPS can't read at grade level. 20% of less than 20% of the people that went to North Division where I went to can read at grade level. Yeah, I'm going to go up there. I knocked on the door and say, hey, here I am. I'm going to volunteer to work with these kids. These are our kids, and this
Right.
is our future. So I'm spread a little bit, but not that much. I just pick and choose where I go and what I say and how I say it. If someone has something against me like that, I would just say, hey, let's sit down and break bread because I don't see this city changing until we do some things and work together. And the number one thing that we have to work for in this city is to make sure our elders are taken care of and make sure that these kids are taken care of. Right now, Milwaukee is being dumbed down. The students that are successful, they leave and they don't come out. So now we've got how many students or kids are we putting in these streets that can't read or write? And the only thing that they can do to feed their families is to commit crime. So this is going to affect the entire city. And that's why we got 149 homicides this year. And we got all these bullets flying all over the place because people are starving. They're starving not just for food, they're starving for knowledge, for education, all of that. They're starving for leadership in this city.
Right. Right. You want to get some last words in there, Vaughn, before we call it one?
Yeah, I like I said, I think he's taking the things I've said as if I'm singling him out or as directly personal. But these are conversations I've had with people I even work with, where I've told people there are two types of people who go into a room, right? You have people who come into a room and the energy is like, oh, I hear this here it is, my MF come. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you a nuisance versus certain people who come into a room and they like, oh, we can't mess up today. This person is in the room. We better be on our P's and Q's.
Absolutely.
So you have to be very conscious of which type of person you are. That's was the gist of what I'm saying to you is people are taking you as the other kind.
I
right?
definitely
Instead of
am
taking
too.
you seriously. And so, and you know, again, this is something that I've been through myself and something that I still go through in rooms because, you know, those of us who come from the community and we stand up and talk out about certain issues or we show up, we are never going to be completely like. To be honest, I understand that some people, you know, will rather use you for what you can do for them or you know, your support so that you don't, you know, get on their bad side or whatever. But at the end of the day, this platform is about making people do their job. If you have this platform and you're able to do this, then when I call you, which is very rare because I don't usually have to call you. I can just, you know, I build things to where I can, if I want this done and this is my agenda, that's what I set out to do. But if I call your office or if I contact you, this is going to be a conversation. This is what I need from you and this is how you can help me. And that's what we're doing. So, you know, again, I appreciate having the conversation. I'm never above having an actual conversation with people, especially if there's a misunderstanding. I'm not one to shed away or run. We can get it out the way. So I appreciate you, Sayer, for having us. I think we was a little all over the place. I think we could talk about specifics, but we could do that you know, maybe one day directly.
Yeah.
And figure out how we can get some more stuff done.
All right. Anything last from you, Vince?
Yeah. First of all, you know, Vaughn, I'm raised in a way that, you know, you're my brother, and every brother in this city I love. I don't care if you hate me, I'm gonna love you. You can't stop me from loving you. And here's a really concerned, and I understand what you're saying when I walk in the room and people say, you know, here he come. Well, I'm glad they say that because there's some problems that need to be fixed. And if you don't want to work with me, that's a problem in and of itself. I was at a meeting 2 weeks ago that was held at Running Rebels. I brought a kid in. I worked for Running Rebels for 5 years. I brought a young man in. He's in his 20s right now who went to Running Rebels. He was pissed off. He didn't want to be there. I brought him there anyway. He said that when he turned a certain age, they put him on the streets, right? We were getting ready to leave because he couldn't handle it anymore, the things that were going on in that room. And, you know, Reggie Moore, I mean, a lot of people were there, a lot of different organizations were there that get grant money. This 20-something-year-old kid wanted to get out of there because he couldn't handle the spirits that were up in there because he knows what they're about. Mm-hmm. And I guess he had went to use the bathroom, and then we got in the car. He was standing by somebody, and he overheard a prominent person. And to your point, Mr. Mayes, he said, I don't know who invited him. I didn't. And this is somebody that he once looked up to that says something like this. It's a shame that something like this has to go on. And we have these organizations. And when I first ran into the young man, he told me, he said, F Running Rebels. I'm 10 toes down in the street. They didn't look after me, so I don't give a what about them. You know, there's a lot of things that are going on in this city that our young men are being thrown on the streets. You know, every organization and from Child Protective Services to foster care system, when they turn 18 years old, they kick them to the streets. And if they can't read or they can't write, what are they going to do? 10 toes down in the streets. That means I got to make it any way that I can. If that means robbing somebody, selling drugs, that's what I'm going to do. If that means shooting somebody, that's what I'm going to do.
All right.
Yeah. So,
well, once again, it's hittinghardradio.com. The morning shift MKE. We had my brother from Conforce, Vaughn L. Mayes online. We have my brother from the Garden Homes area, Vince G. TOMY in studio. Hey, this is how men conduct themselves. You know what I mean? If you have a disagreement, you sit down and you talk it out. You shake up and you work it out. Hey, I look forward to seeing the work both you brothers continue to keep doing. Hey, somebody got to do it. Y'all keep it locked, hittinghardradio.com, the morning shift MKE. We about to get over into the munchy mixes. Hey, I'll chop it up with you brothers later.
Peace.
hop to the next level. That's my word.
HittingHardRadio.com.
You still in bed, man? Yo, you need to punch in for that morning shift MKE with Sayer. Right here.